I apologize for that. Just people stopping in the office. So, as we were just saying, the first application we're going to talk about today is Amy Tate's application for Black Point Drive. It's CPN 20064. And Amy, maybe you could introduce the application to us. You know, what's there? What are you proposing to do?
Sure. Thank you very much. I didn't know I was going to be on the spot, and I apologize that Bill Grove couldn't be here today. And I think the Kentons were going to join us, but they maybe didn't realize we were going to be first on the agenda. You know, just to talk about it a little bit, we've been owners of the property now for, I don't know, 25 years. And we've always had this cabin up there. We've improved it a couple of times to keep it habitable during the summer, but it's not insulated and the critters just always seem to get in there. So I'll start by saying our goal is not to pack more people in, and it's not to have a rental property. It's just that in the 15 years since we built our main house, you know, some things have changed. One is the main house with that last chute of a driveway is really not accessible at all in the winter. And since we've moved out of town now, and this is our only home in the Rochester area, we'd like a place that we can get to if necessary in the winter and stay. The other thing is our main home is not handicap accessible. It has the main house has 4 bedrooms, but they're all upstairs, and we looked into putting in an elevator and whatever, and we actually thought that what we call the bear cabin, the topic of interest today, because it's on a grade, you can drive into the garage on the lower level and wheel right into the bedroom, or you can come in the front door and be in the great room area. So we really like that for planning for the future and for friends of ours that have health issues occasionally. The third reason is that while there are 4 bedrooms in the house downstairs, only one has an ensuite bathroom. The others are shared, or you have to go downstairs for a shower. And, you know, as we get older and we have couples and as guests, we like the idea of having another place where they can have some privacy with their own private bath. And then finally, the other motivation here is just with COVID and the fact that we're working from home and we have Zoom calls and whatever, there's no private place to go in the main house. And so that's why the cabin would do it for us. So I'm giving you a lot of soft touch stuff. It is, at the end of the day, it is still 1 bedroom, a living area, a kitchen, and a deck, all of things that we have there today. But in trying to keep make it winter accessible, we wanted to add a 1.5 car garage. That necessitated that we go 2 stories so that we don't impact the footprint too much. And with 2 stories, now we need room for stairs. We wanted to have a bathroom on each level, and just for convenience of, you know, having it accessible. And then finally, because we had the space, we put a little kind of study loft over the kitchen. So we are not moving any of the roadways. We're going right back in the same footprint. We will have the same number of bedrooms that our original system was designed for. It was designed for 5 bedrooms, including 1 bedroom and what we call the bear cabin. And I guess that's, I don't know, I haven't sat in on your presentations. I didn't know if you wanted a more technical presentation, but that's where we're coming from.
Just the intent is fine for right now. Okay. So I appreciate you giving us a background and everything. So I'll try to walk through the plans. I have a couple minutes to look them over last week after Bill brought them in. So this gray outline area there, which it's nice that you can zoom into here in the PDF. That's the existing footprint of the cabin, and what they're proposing to construct is the black outline here. So they have a pre-existing nonconformity for the second dwelling. You'll have to prepare a certificate for that. And they're not expanding it, although they are, you know, modifying it slightly. They don't need any variances for setbacks or anything. They're well well beyond the property boundaries. Really the big thing on this site is the steep slope area, which this is obviously in. I think everybody knows that. And so they have, expanded slightly in that steep slope area, enough to where they'll need a site plan approval from the planning board. And then, the planning board, the ECB and everything will consider compliance with the steep slope guidelines and whatnot.
Eric, what is the percent of slope in that area?
I believe it's 25 to 40, as I recall.
Okay, just wondered what category they would be in.
Yep.
And how much material would they be taking off the lot?
How much material would they be taking off the lot? I don't know that one.
That's probably a Bill question.
Yeah, I apologize. This is Amy. I don't know the number. I think it was on Bill's write-up somewhere. We wouldn't be, I think there are other places we could put it on the property. We have about 5 acres. But generally it's hard to say what the slope is right in the footprint because it's already been largely disturbed.
Are there any trees or anything, any growth in the area of disturbance?
There are some small ones that we are actually having removed, I think this week anyway. They're small. Some of them are ash, that are dead anyway. So we've got a tree remover coming to deal with mostly dead trees. I think the largest one that we'd be removing because of the house might be, I don't know, 5 or 6 inches in diameter.
Is there a plan for revegetating the area, replanting trees?
We do not have our landscaping plan yet, but there's really, it's such a little tiny area in there between the driveways. In that bend, I don't think we're going to want any big trees there. This whole thing is really hidden in the woods. You can't see it from the lake. You can't see it from the neighbors' houses.
Okay.
We probably would just have some small, ground cover kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Amy. It's Chuck Euler.
Hi, Chuck.
I was trying to follow your presentation. The existing cottage, as shown on the plan, will not be affected in any way by this at all. This is strictly
Not
to
at
be
all.
done to the bear
Right.
cabin, right?
Right. Yeah, I apologize. I was just kind of giving the reason why we're trying to accommodate for some of the shortcomings in the existing cottage with this plan.
Okay. And it looks, as far as utilities, you've got a water service going from the existing house up to the bear cabin.
Yes.
And
We already have that. Everything's treated. It comes from the lake. It's treated in a filtration system and UV light in the main house.
okay. So you're drawing the lake for your source. Okay.
Mhm.
And your septic system for both the cottage and the bear cabin is, you're pushing it to the north with an injection pump, and it goes into a existing leachate field?
Yep. And then
Okay.
there's the aerobic system as well, which was all installed when we built the main house and provided for the cabin as well.
Okay. Do you have a view of the lake from the bear cabin, or can you see the bear cabin from the lake?
It's a very filtered views, put it that way. It's very wooded. So there are glimpses of it. Yes. Can we see it from the lake? I think you'd have to go far out into the lake to see it because of the slope and everything. And it's painted a dark brown, and it will be again when we're done. So, I don't think anybody can see it from the lake.
Okay.
Um,
We have shoreline guidelines that sort of protect the aesthetics of the view from the lake, and I just wanted to
Mhm.
see
Yeah.
if they would apply in this case. And I guess it's something we'll certainly talk about at the planning board meeting. How much it'll affect this property, I guess, depends on what it looks like. And I know Eric has pictures from the lake looking. You don't have to pull them up, Eric, but we can look at that at
Mhm.
some point during the presentation with the planning board. And then, yeah, steep slopes, I guess, is the biggest concern here. And you're going to have to give us, if you haven't already, enough information that we can determine what effect the slopes would have on the construction and the permanent status of the air cabin once it's built.
Yeah. And again, I can't tell you from a technical side, but that switchback, and that there's been a house at the bottom here for like 150 years, and I think that driveway has been there for I don't know, maybe that amount of time. Maybe it was only serviced by boat. I don't know, but that driveway has been there. Both driveways that this is wedged between are paved and have been paved for the 25 or so years that we've owned it. So it's really, and nothing is going to change about those driveways. So it's really contained right in that little V.
Mm-hmm. So the area of disturbance is essentially what we're looking at right now.
Is really just the footprint. Yeah.
As with other meetings, or the previous PRC meetings, I'm going to go through the checklist and send that afterwards. We don't need to go through it today,
Great.
or right now, rather. For referrals, I have it going to Tyler Oley, make sure everything's okay with the septic one. Chris Jensen, the ECB, MRB, Cheshire Fire Department, and Kevin Mulvaney.
Great. Is there anything specifically that I should ask Bill Grove to prepare? All right.
Yeah.
Oh. All right.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
I'm sorry. I guess one question I have, and maybe it's on the plan somewhere, it's hard to see. But typically what we ask for is we want to know the total disturbance as referenced earlier. And the reason is because in Canandaigua, if you disturb more than 20,000 square feet, there is some stormwater requirements associated with that. And so if you disturb more than 20,000 square feet, typically what we end up seeing is some kind of a water quality mechanism, whether it be in the form of a rain garden or cisterns or dry wells, something to help infiltrate the stormwater into the ground. That's typically what we ultimately end up requiring. So if it's not already noted on there, he's going to have to add that note to the plans.
Yeah, he did.
There you go. Okay, good. Okay. So it looks like they're under that threshold, which I assumed they were. Existing water, you're going to have sanitary sewer approval, not sewer, but the septic approval as referenced in the steep slope. I'm thinking I'm pretty well off. I think we're good. If there's no driveway improvements being proposed, I think we're good.
Okay. And sorry, Amy, to interrupt you there for a second. What were you saying?
I just wanted to take the notes back for Bill if there was anything specific that was missing. And I know the steep slopes is going to be your area of attention, but I think he's got it all covered.
Yeah, I think generally it is, like I said, there's a one-stage site plan checklist that has all these different items that I'll have to go through. It looks like I kind of already did. I don't see anything huge missing other than, if there's any vegetation being proposed. If not, there might need to be or should be a note on the plan. If you have architectural details of a proposed building, sending that I think would be something the planning board would want to see.
Do you need full construction drawings or just sort of the sketch? or the initial,
Yeah.
okay, so we have that. I'm sorry if that wasn't included.
Just the
Um,
elevations, Amy.
Okay, great.
Um,
And so we'll need site plan approval, and that meeting is on October 13th. And then you said we'd also need sanitary sewer approval. Do you know the timeline for that? That's separate?
Yeah, that's separate from our process generally. After this meeting and next week, once we received any revised materials, we will send this to the various agencies to review. The one that I would do sewer is Tyler Rowley in the Canada Lake watershed. So he operates outside of our process. Generally, the
Okay.
planning board has conditioned their approval, or C of Os anyways, on his approval.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Bill has had any contact with him yet. He might have previously, to where Tyler Rowley might be aware of what the proposal is and maybe is okay with it already. But we'll get a response from Tyler before the planning board meeting to see kind of where he's at.
Wonderful. Okay.
But
Just
there was-
one
yeah.
go ahead. I just have one question here regarding the notes that we are viewing now online, and it refers to the proposed driveway south of the cabin is to be gravel or asphalt. I think the indication was that there was going to be no remediation to the driveways, but is that an error, or is that really what's going to happen there with the
Okay.
driveway?
Thank you. My apologies for clarifying that. So there's the big switchback V that is paved and will not be touched. That little area, the existing gravel driveway, my apologies, that exists for the house. It is a parking area, and it is gravel now. We would prefer to pave it, just because if we do have winter use here, we'd like to be able to get in and out of the garage. So yes, my apologies. Thank you for pointing that out.
As for the timeline of planning board meeting, it could be the 13th, but I also want to check with Chuck to make sure to see we're on the same page. The ECB will meet on October 1st.
Yeah.
So we'll get their comments well before this meeting, or the meeting of the 13th. This would not need to go to the Ontario County Planning Board because there's no variances along with the site plan. So I think that it could be heard on the 13th, but of course that's kind of up to you guys.
It's fine with me. I don't know what the rest of the agenda is, Eric, but I see no reason why it couldn't be the 13th.
Okay.
Thank you. That'd be wonderful. We've been hemming and hawing about doing this for a while and decided to go, and now we have a builder lined up to actually get in and start in November if possible. So
The hemming's over. It's time to start hauling, right?
yeah, exactly. Well, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. And
One other thing, Amy, related to the steep slopes, and I know it's an issue the planning board takes a pretty close look at, would be the roof drains. I see you proposed to drain the roof drains out on a riprap pad. That's a concern because you're concentrating the water into a pipe, and that discharge is critical. So just make sure Bill's ginned up for that.
okay, will do.
Lance, this is John, the seeker for this.
Yeah, this is a type 2 action under seeker.
Thank you.
Okay. Then thank you, Amy, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Stay safe and healthy and have a good day.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I see Nunzio is on the line with us.
Yeah.
So
Yes, I am.
Thanks for joining us. We'll do his application next then. This will be 20062. This is NMS Browncroft at 3411 Westlake Boulevard. So maybe you can introduce this application to us and tell us just briefly, what the intent is, I guess.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, I presently have a cottage over there that has to be winterized every year. And as my family grows, I like to expand it. And number one, make it all year round with the possibility that I might be using it as a primary home as I get older and I spend a little bit of time in Florida in the wintertime, as well as accommodate and create some private bedrooms for both of my kids and my grandkids. So it's been designed to have bedrooms and bathrooms that work, and as well as make it a little bit more of a home. I presently have 3 sheds, no garages. The sheds are in best shape. The squirrels and everything else goes in there and destroys everything that I keep in there. I try to fortify it, but it's not working. So I figured now would be the time to just make a home out of it.
So what you're looking at right now, or what should be on your screen, is the existing conditions plan. This is a survey that Rocco did 2017. So you see the existing setbacks, which are pre-existing non-conforming, the couple sheds and carport, and then the proposed conditions, which you'll see the applicant Nunzio is requesting a waiver from a professionally prepared site plan. So the existing house will essentially be modified and added on to. The architectural plans are laid onto this plan. So kitchen, garage, all that good stuff. This is the expanded footprint of what he is proposing. It would meet the setback requirements on the south. I believe this portion will be like a porch, and so it will have a 25-foot setback as opposed to 50, or what they're required to be is 60. And these structures in what we would call the front of the property, but Nunzio might refer to as the rear of the property, would be removed for a garage, which would also meet the setback requirements. As I said, the applicant's requesting a waiver from a site plan.
My personal opinion is I don't think we should waiver a professionally prepared site plan, and he drew on someone else's survey, so that's not really acceptable.
You read the line, Chris.
Okay.
If I may, if I got to get this, the site plans that you guys are requiring, I won't be able to do it this year. I was hoping to do it this winter. This is a house that has a tree with an eagle, and I've been working with the DNC right from the very beginning and the potential idea of doing this. And because of the bird, I cannot do any work past the end of December. So if I got to get a site plan, the whole thing is going to have to go on hold, and I will not be able to do it. I have very small slopes, plenty of room in the yard to disperse some of the dirt. As a matter of fact, the actual tree that houses the eagle is in desperate need of dirt because all the roots are up in the air, and every time that the guy cuts the grass, he hits those the roots are exposed. But unless I get the only 3 months that I can get this project over here is October, November, and December. I had to do.
It's just that we've never accepted. For a whole new addition, everything this size, new buildings and stuff in the residential Lake District without professionally prepared plans, I just don't think it's something we can do because we'd set a precedence in the future that allowed this much construction in the most sensitive part of the town.
Well, I guess I could call Rocco. I think he's the one that does site plans as well, I think, to see if there is any way that I could have the site plans for the meeting October 13. I don't know how quickly they can get it done, I could ask. But if I can get it done by October 13, I'm assuming that I'm SOL. Is that correct?
Actually, it's even shorter of a timeline. If if we're requesting it at the PRC, it has to be provided to us by Friday, essentially, the revisions to the plans.
Friday is in 4 days from now?
Yeah. And so that becomes impossible, or more
Yeah.
so.
I don't know if that's possible. Every time I get a hold of the engineer for some of the works that I've been needing to do last year to put a dock, it took 2.5 months to get a new survey. Rocco itself is real busy. I used a different engineer the last time, but Rocco has done work in this site before, so I'm using him, and he's very cooperative, but I don't know that he could do it by Friday. I gotta assume that he can't.
Yeah, that's probably the case. Okay.
I mean, I'm probably the only house on the lake that's got the bird, and I got restrictions everywhere I turn around, from the bird to the sewer easement and everything else. If anybody were to come in and say, I want to do the same thing, can you ask them to show you the bird?
What's that?
I mean, I'm not asking because I don't want to do it. I'm asking because I got a time constraint. So if you were to make an exception because of my time constraint that is dictated by an eagle, that it's probably the only nest in the whole lake that happens to be in my house, couldn't that justify and the reason why you took an exception and not that you're creating a trend?
The exception, I mean, I wouldn't even look at the bird as being part of the exception. The fact is you're in the residential lake district and you're proposing quite a renovation and construction and stuff without professionally prepared plans. You drew on someone else's plan, which actually is a violation of the New York State Education Code. So we really cannot accept what you've submitted to us.
All right, just so that I understand that, then you need the site plan, and you also need the surveyor to put the house himself or the additions himself on the survey. Is that it? This is not my cup of tea. I just need explanation on what to do so I can move in the right direction.
Essentially,
Yeah.
do you want to go, Lance?
No, I apologize. I was just gonna simply say, if you were to go for, let's say, Rocco in this case, yeah, he would provide us a site plan and a surveyed parcel map that identifies the boundaries, meets and bounds of where your project is located, so that we can accurately depict the distances and the setbacks that are being proposed, and making sure that we're not in violation of any of those things. And then he would be able to stamp and sign it, which is a requirement of the town.
Okay. All right. That part of it, I know that it could be done. The only thing that stands in the way is the site plan. I can't
Well, Lance,
imagine.
like you said in the previous application, the limit of disturbance as far as any grading that's involved, any change of slopes, any, and so you mentioned the sanitary sewer easement. You said that's an issue. That certainly should be shown on the plan.
Well, it is on the plan.
Okay, well, so that's the easement running. It's tough to tell from.
Yeah, it's right there, right in front of the house.
Okay, I thought that was the driveway. Okay.
No.
Okay. So you're, well, I don't want to get into the details because obviously you're going to have to provide a more detailed plan. So, yeah, that's the reason really that we're asking for this information.
All right. Again, one thing I'm sure that I could do it because Rocco and Anthony have been extremely cooperative, that I could have him redesign on a survey and stamp it for the accuracy that you need. If I gotta get a site plan, I won't be able to do it. It just don't have enough time to do the project and get it closed the way the DEC wants me to have it by December 31st. There's just not enough time.
Is this something, Nunzio, I don't want to be presumptive or anything, but is this something that you would look to do or could look to do next September or October rather?
Yeah, if I didn't do it this year, I'll I'm probably going to proceed and try to do it next year. I mean, everything is all subject to change. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. I mean, I'm 65 years old. My life expectancy when my family is 74, 75. I'm losing 10% of the use of this cottage if I live that long. So to me, the sooner would have been better. I would have liked to have done it this year. I started out early enough, but every time, because of my ignorance and what I was getting myself into, get this and get that, and it's walked, into a couple of months that were very critical for me to get to this point where I'm at right now. It's not because of, I just was putting everything on a back burner. I mean, I've been running fast from architect to engineer and the town and everything else. It's been walking because I wasn't aware of, all the different things that I had to do. I thought that now I was close to the stage over there. I really was hoping very strongly to be able to do it this year as opposed to next year.
Yeah, I understand. Well, it sounds like talk to Rocco and Anthony and see if they can get us a site plan.
All right,
Yeah,
so
I just want to make it clear. I feel bad for you, but it's a requirement of the town and a requirement of the state that we can't. We have to look out for liability reasons and other issues, and so that's what the certified plans really represent. So I'm pretty sure if the town could, they would accommodate you, but in these circumstances, it's just not possible.
I understand that. I don't want to waste any
Okay.
more of your time. I'll call Rocco right now to see if it's possible, and I'll communicate through Eric. Is everything else okay? Do you have any other questions? If I were to be lucky or fortunate enough that they get it done.
I think a lot of the questions would relate to the site plan, and I think as we also talked about, the shoreline guidelines will come into play, and proposed vegetation, which would likely also be requested or need to be shown on the site plan.
All right. The required vegetation, you mean like plants that I'm going to be using to landscape or?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay.
After disturbance, what's going on? Are you buffering it from the lake, stuff like that?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your time. I'll call Rocco right away, and if it can be done, fine. If not, I'll move forward at a different speed because of or we'll see. I might still give it a shot to see if I could muscle it through more people to get it done, I guess, but it looks doubtful.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Nunzio.
Yeah,
Good luck.
thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Okay. Brennan, you with us? Seems like he's connecting to audio. Brennan, you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, no, I was muted, sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, Brennan.
Okay. So,
Hey.
Brennan, you're
Bill.
going to be here.
I think Bill's on too, so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he is. 223-7345.
That's
Yep.
correct, sir.
Okay, so Bill and Brennan, you guys are going to talk to us about your application over on Bristol Road.
Yep.
Let me pull up the plans real quick. So this is CPN 20066. likely be familiar to most of you.
Yes.
Probably go right at the C100 there, but, yep, keep going down. Those are the sub map. You keep going one more, it'll be probably a little bit bigger to see. So there you go. So we're, the plan here is for a 10 lot subdivision, conservation subdivision on 5100 and 5150 Bristol Road. All single family residential, attached garages, 72-foot lot frontage, roughly, what was the lot depth? 150-foot lot depths, 75-foot cul-de-sac at the end with 2 houses on it and a third house, which is going to be set off with I call it pipe stem. The road will have a gutter on the left side. It'll have a open ditch on the right side. And on the other side of the open ditch, we're planning for a cinder trail, 6-foot wide cinder trail. And there will be 4 crosses over that swale to get to that trail. We've discussed it in the past. That trail connects to Bristol Road, and it also could extend around the back of the property if it's something the town wants to entertain that. There is a 15-foot wide swath of land that could connect down to West Ave, but we're open for some type of a trail easement for that. The setbacks we're proposing is 20-foot front setback, 20-foot rear setback, and 10-foot side setbacks. That's pretty similar to a lot of the subdivisions, including Brookside up on Buffalo Road. There is sanitary on the eastern side of the site coming up from the hammocks that we're going to tie into. It's actually further up. Right there it is, yep. And then there's water on Bristol Road. I don't know, Bill, if you have anything you want to add or not. Guess not.
So how big is the cul-de-sac?
It's a 75-foot right away radius.
New York State, I think, requires 96 feet building code.
Yeah, 75-foot radius, so it's going to be 150.
It's going to be
the
big
town
enough.
standard, yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks. That's my only question.
Yeah, it is a big cul-de-sac. I'll be honest with you. It's a lot bigger than a lot of cul-de-sacs, but I know the
Yeah, I
town
was saying.
standards what they're like.
Okay.
What's the price point on these homes, Brennan?
Well, I'll let Bill answer that actually.
Well, we'll probably try to start our marketing at around 250, 260.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a landscaping plan attached? And I don't see it now, but probably it's there somewhere in the file. And also, what's going to happen to the back of the property with the woods? That would be the ECB's concern. It has been in the past, so.
Okay.
Brendan?
So as far as landscaping goes, we don't have a landscaping plan yet. If it's required for preliminary subdivision, we will provide one on Friday. As far as the back portion of the lot, it's a conservation subdivision, but we are not proposing a conservation easement on that. It's going to be very difficult to add any more lots back there, so it'll be essentially done as far as subdivision at this point.
Are we allowed
And the stormwater infrastructure, you have an infiltration basin? I mean, you don't have any storage or anything, just going for the infiltration?
It'll be storage over the infiltration basin. It's gonna have storage down through the swale. It's gonna be more like a bioretention swale down that right side of the street, and then it'll store in the infiltration basin. And the intent is a dry pond at this point.
Okay.
we
Has,
have any,
oh, go ahead, Joyce.
I was just looking for a tree line designation there. If, I don't know if that's on one of the sheets or not, but
Yeah, there is an existing tree line there where his cursor is. And that'll be, the trees will be cleared for, well, I should say, selectively cleared. If he can salvage any the older growth mature trees, he will, back to the other side of lot 10. It's mostly saplings and brush at this point. There's not a lot of mature trees in this area.
what kind of, what are you planning to do in the back end of it then, where the trees are,
It
not
would
quite,
just be, yeah, we would just clear it to the last house there.
yeah, okay, so you're just intending to leave that,
Do we-
just leave the foliage like it is?
After that, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Have you prepared a conservation subdivision analysis?
We've done the calculations here on this sheet.
Okay, I figured that's what all those tables were.
Yeah. So that's the calculations of how we come up with the number of lots, the density. The analysis we've provided we've provided a couple letter of intents, but I will rewrite the analysis to more catered to what the code reads.
Yeah, that's critical, obviously, for the consideration. So that will determine how you came up with the 10 lots and reducing the lot sizes.
Yeah.
And I guess most of the open space will be on lot 10.
Yep.
So I don't know, Eric, in that conservation analysis or consideration, is it thought that the open space be for the use of the homes in the development, or is it, in this case it would be on lot 10 and nobody from lots 1 through 9 would have access to it?
I don't think there's any mention of that in the conservation subdivision code.
So it's
as far
more a
as-
preservation of the land than creating
Yeah.
open space for recreation. Okay.
Well, the question would be that if the rest of the property on the house number 10 is going to be private property, then how do we preserve the conservation easement part? I can't see it on my screen how far that lot extends on house number 10, so I'm not quite so sure. Okay, so number 10, that lot or that house is going to have all of that property under title, right?
Yes.
And if that is so, where does the conservation subdivision come in? Because that can't be, it has to come under an HOA or something. It can't come under conservation easement unless they're going to put it under themselves, private conservation easement. So I'm wondering about us even going to conservation subdivision design here.
So the point of conservation subdivision, right, is to increase or to cluster development, to decrease the disturbance on open areas and whatnot, or natural resources. By clustering the development towards the front end of the lot and preserving the remainder in lot 10 of about 3.8 acres, which is not able to be subdivided again because it doesn't have enough frontage. Therefore, we're protecting that because it's only going to have one single family house on it, and we're going to preserve that natural resource. I think the point you guys are talking about as far as shared areas or shared open space would be more like an incentive zoning program, which you're providing something that the public can use.
To get, again, the intent is to create open space, not to create recreational space or a common area for people to benefit. I guess you could create a conservation easement on lot 10 to ensure and protect that area never be developed with pools, garages, barns, something to that effect. That might be a possibility.
That would be, that would be up to the owner, of course. Bill has already actually expressed interest to developing that lot for himself. I'm not sure, that's not set in stone, but that's of interest to him.
That is of interest to us. Well, my wife and I, we're going to move to Canandaigua, and I guess we would pick the lot there or the first lot, but we would probably take that lot. So to preserve what we want to do, we just don't want to clear cut it or anything like that.
Yeah, so the question about applying
Could you put a
go ahead.
barn structure in there for storage, or no?
Well, that would, if you're going to put it in conservation easement, that would all have to be spelled out, what you could or could not do. But I have to go back to this. We're not really doing a conservation subdivision here. We're just doing a cluster. And so the resource, the woods that is back there will be of particular interest to the ECB, how that's going to be preserved. And you can't be putting trails, back there for even residents on this lot, on this property to use. That doesn't sound amenable, I wouldn't imagine, to the property owner. But so we're just going to have some questions, and we'll just have to get into the site plan.
I have one more question, ma'am. I have one more question. At the back of the property, there's an easement. It's 15 feet wide, and it runs for about 1,500 or 1,600 feet to the village of Canandaigua. It goes behind. Brendan, you could probably explain it to him more. What do we?
Yeah.
Should we make a walking trail?
Well, that's what
on the edge of the property by the townhouses there, the apartments there, and if people want to walk from there down to the park, down to the city, they can do that. Or we don't know what to do with that property. I guess that's my question.
Yeah, that's good. It would probably be best to see it on this aerial encore. So that I started talking about that, but it's obviously would take some coordination with the town. And I mean, if Joyce already mentioned that trail may not be acceptable for preservation of the open space there, but that trail does connect, and he actually owns the 15-foot strip behind that one there. That is all part of it. And it all connects down to the city, which connects very closely to Arsenal Hill, which I think is all still public land. So it really could connect to West Ave, and it could be a public trail system. I know that Canandaigua doesn't have a big trail system, and I'm not sure if they're looking to expand it at all. But it would be a possibility for residents on Bristol Road and West Ave to use. But obviously, if we can't do it as part of the conservation subdivision, we can't put a trail in, then of course we'll leave it off. But that was one of the highlights we brought up through this whole project, is there is an opportunity for that. It could be used by a lot of people in this area of the town.
Hey, Eric.
Yep.
I'm reading under our conservation subdivision criteria, and I it's not for me to determine. I'm just as a question. I think it's under C, standards for conservation subdivisions, and if you go down all the way to what appears to be 7, conservation subdivision design guidelines. A, conservation subdivision shall be. That's not what I'm on to look at. Where am I looking here? I think it was D under that section. Scroll down farther.
Not that. Oh, under section D.
It starts with permanent open space. Yeah, read that first. Permanent open space set aside in the conservation shall be permanently preserved as required by this section. There's one that said something about building lot. Dang it, I lost it.
I think it's right here.
Actually, go up. Go up to B. Yeah, right there.
Building that. Yeah, that is something that will.
That was my question. I don't think you, go ahead.
Okay, so there's another portion in here. I think it says like constrained lands. Okay, so the preliminary plat shall show the following lands to be preserved by a conservation easement. Shall show the following to be preserved. Constrained lands, which there aren't any on this site, and as I understand anyways, and at least 40% of the land not preserved in subsection C2, which it just refers to constrained lands.
Sure.
So, 40% of the land per this code is, or should be, or shall be shown as preserved by a conservation easement. And so there will have to be some mechanism for waiving that, whether it's the planning board granting a waiver
gotcha.
or whether it's the zoning board granting a variance.
Okay.
I think I've seen the planning board waive that conservation easement in the past on subdivision, on conservation subdivisions.
I may
Am I
have.
correct there?
I may have. I don't know.
Recent-
Thank you.
Recently, Brennan?
It may have been last year.
Oh.
Hmm.
That's recent. Well, I think what has to happen is, Brennan, you are going to file a more detailed analysis
Yep.
as to how you feel you comply with the regulations and how you justify what you're showing. And I think Eric and staff has got to review that analysis and point out to the planning board as to where there are deficiencies, and for our consideration, if any of those deficiencies should be waived or considered other than having to apply. So I sort of think that's where we have to go with this thing, because I think we're still up in the air quite a bit on the conservation subdivision as to whether it's
Yeah.
applicable.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely applicable. I mean, so
You can apply it to any property.
Yeah, but if you're going to waive the 40%, or if you're going to do things like that, then you really don't have a conservation subdivision. You have something else. So this is my concern here, that we're not waiving that something that's integral to, that code.
So, yeah, we're using conservation subdivision as a means to cluster this development. And as we met last year, or was it last year in front of the board, the planning board made recommendations to develop the entire lot with 20 lots for infill, which would take pressure off of development in other areas of the town. So we tried that route. We went to the town board for rezoning to get 16 or 17 lots here, which would have been rezoning the second portion of the lot there from AR2 to R120. However, the town board did not grant us the rezoning. So we came back with this 10 lot clustered subdivision. So we're trying to do this subdivision, this cluster under the conservation, or we are doing this under the cluster conservation subdivision. Trying to, infill this land and use it as to the most extent practical as recommended by the town planning board. So whether there's an easement on portions of lot 10 or not, I mean, that we can figure out.
okay.
And I will say, I'm intrigued by the concept of having a walking trail along this new road. It would have to extend through lot 10 to that back easement, if that easement is for the purposes of pedestrian access, and then extending toward the city. That's. I know we were talking about at some point having the ability to extend the street over to West Avenue, and I think that's kind of a challenge. But at least having a walking path that people can walk from Bristol to West, that's certainly an interesting concept.
Yeah, I think the ECB would like that concept, and I think that they probably will suggest that somebody follow through on that to see how feasible that is. I don't know, are we going into City of Canandaigua property at that point, or?
That's why we kind of have to open-ended on our side, because, I mean, it's going to be mostly, I think, the town that's going to have to coordinate that through to the city to get some of the city land into the town. And also there is a private owner right there for about 50 to 60 feet of it that would have to be approached also. But yes, the owner is interested in that walking trail, or providing that walking trail to the town. or should say the easement for it. And we could work out the specifics also, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll have to coordinate with the city. As far as referrals go for this project, you gotta go into John Berry, the Canada Lake County Sewer District, Chris Jensen, ECB, the Ag Committee, Jim Fletcher, MRB Group, County Planning Board, the Cheshire Fire Department, the State Historic Preservation, SHPO, we gotta coordinate with them, and the City of Canandaigua. As we talked about, you'll need to provide us a detailed conservation analysis. When I was looking at this just briefly before our meeting, there's probably a few things that will need some sort of waiver. The conservation easement that we already talked about. There's also the requirement in conservation subdivision in the R120 that lots be 10,000 square feet or no smaller than 10,000 square feet, but what you're proposing is 9,000, as I remember. So a waiver from that requirement, which I think is, in my opinion, is probably appropriate considering it conserves more land.
With this
Then there-
conservation sub waiver that automatically, wouldn't that be the point of the conservation subdivision?
In my opinion,
But,
yes, but it's in the code.
But I mean, you're not conserving any land if you're putting it on private property. That's the thing. The whole reason for a conservation subdivision is to have conserved lands, but the conserved lands are going to be on private property. So I have been impossible trying to enforce conservation areas when they're owned private owners, because
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell someone what they can and cannot do on their own property.
Even if it's subject to a deed restriction?
Deed restrictions are almost impossible to enforce
Yeah.
by a municipality. We have to hire lawyers and go to civil court and sue and stuff like that. It's not a code.
But if somebody had a conservation easement on their property, and then they came in with a building permit application to build a garage or shed or something in that easement,
You can
You
look
would
at
say no.
but then you look at Saddlehorn, and they brought suit against the town and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
they ended up, it's their property, they could build on it. That's the thing. When you put conservation subdivisions on someone's personally owned property, it's just a battle we can't fight.
Well, I guess the thing would be is the HOA, right?
The HOAs, I mean, look at Fox Ridge. I mean, the Fox Ridge people are cutting down and doing stuff to their conservation subdivision or conservation areas. And the HOA is like, okay. I mean, it's really something, unless that property is set aside as a conservation area, a separate parcel, it's someone else's property. It's that property owner's property, and it's impossible to argue, hey, you can't do something on your own property.
Yeah, so
And then, I mean, we did do a variance for Fox Ridge, but they have tons and tons of areas and stuff, and that was set beside, was the 1.5B or something like that. But that was already set aside 10 years ago or something like
Sure.
that.
Yeah, more than that.
kind of history.
Well, so that's what makes the conservation easement so hard to write, right? But us providing the remainder in a large lot like that, I mean, the zoning codes are going to limit what he can do there, right? So he's going to be able to build a house, maybe an out structure, but it's never going to be a commercial use or anything like that. And then,
But then he's going to mow it down, cut trees, turn it to pasture, put a garden there, do all this stuff. It's just the problems we keep running into whenever privately owned conservation areas are in the town. It's impossible to enforce something on those properties, and frankly, the town doesn't have the budget to hire lawyers and enforce stuff like that unless it's a private or a separate parcel, conservation parcel. Then it's the owner doesn't own it. It's in the HOA and the HOA's property.
That's why that section of code exists that reads that it shall be contained in or not as a portion of a building lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the code though requires it to be in an HOA, although that's probably preferable. It just says that it can be held in private ownership. But I do think that if we're going to continue the conversations about whether or not a conservation easement is required, which it does sound like probably the planning board and ECB want that to be the case, then
Brendan.
to find the appropriate method of doing that, that it
Is it,
does not be
Go ahead.
want the property?
building that.
What's that, Bill? You were saying?
Does the town want the property so they can preserve it? I don't, you know.
The town doesn't like taking private property or private property. They usually like it in the HOA. The thing is, you're going for a conservation subdivision, saying 40% of the land or something is conserved, but in the end, if it's on private parcel with a house
Yeah.
on it, it's not conserved. It's someone's
That's
private
right.
property.
Absolutely.
If the public doesn't want it, who takes it? And now we're into, a piece of land that becomes an orphan piece of land that nobody
The
wants. and
HOA
nobody-
owns it.
Well, yeah, but Chris, you've seen
Right.
what the problems with the HOA owning it too. I mean, they don't take care of it.
But they do, and they use
Well-
it for the enjoyment of all the houses and stuff with trails and stuff like that. It's just that the whole fact is you're going for a conservation, saying you're conserving this land, but in the end, you're not conserving it if it's on a private parcel.
The one
Well,
thing
probably-
about this, which makes it unusual and probably could fit into another category here, and the reason why the town might want to accept it is because of the possibility of the trails.
Yep.
And if the town accepted that parcel, that conservation easement for the back of that lot, and then had some plan or something like that in the future to develop a trail back there, then, you'd have another option for the town to provide, for residents, some different kind of recreation.
On
So I
that
don't
point,
know what the town would think about that, but definitely that's an option to explore.
on that point, Eric, can you explain the incentive zoning?
As for like why it won't get better, why it isn't fine.
Yeah, as far in terms of what's the process for incentive zoning? Would it be a possibility for here? Would it be an easier way to classify the subdivision?
I
Versus,
think that we talked about this early on in the process, trying to figure out whether or not, or what the most appropriate path would be to get you your 16 lots or whatever, like what was the process. But the AR2 zoning district is not a district allowed to go through the incentive zoning process.
all right.
They could not do that. Conservation subdivision is kind of the only method to do this
Gotcha.
at this
Brendan?
point.
Yeah, Bill.
Like in Parrington here, what we've done over the years, and it's called Town Trail in Parrington. Every time we have a piece of property, which I have probably at the time maybe 50 properties at one time, and they had this trail system that they've built here, and through all their subdivisions, we've given them a trail system, say it's 10 feet wide or whatever it is. It connects to they try to get a piece for every subdivision if they can, because it connects to maybe a town or the city or a park or something like that. This trail system that people can walk through. So that's one thing I can tell you, that they might want to keep that property, and then for the future, because the behind us is all open land. If they develop that, they might want to put trail systems and tie that all in together.
You're saying like the potential for the town to like take what would be as far as like dedicated to the town, what would be the sidewalk or the path area?
Saying more of the, Bill, I think you're saying more of the lot, right? More of lot 10. You would like to give up.
Well, if they'd like to preserve that, it's fine with me, because I don't have any. If I'm going to build a house there, the only thing that I would ever want to do would have a barn. But if they don't want a barn, I'll forget that at my age, anyways. But this is our plan, anyways. We live. We have a big lot where we live now, so
I think it's worth a conversation with the town manager and with some town board members to see, and even with Parks and Recreation, to see if this could be feasible for that reason, for the access, for the trail.
Oh, I don't want to necessarily slow this down either, too, because
Well,
you
that's,
spent
yeah.
7 months, 8 months with the town board because of the whole pandemic. The idea is to get this thing moving forward. So Yeah, so the trail system's gonna hold things up. I mean, we've got to keep moving. And so that's my opinion, I guess. That's my input I have on towards that.
I mean, my opinion is it doesn't meet the intent of the code and stuff because it's not a conservation subdivision because you're not conserving the land.
How do we conserve the land, Chris?
Put it in a separate parcel and not privately owned.
Yeah.
That's how,
You know,
that's how it's written.
You could put it in a separate parcel now, even though and just wait and see if the town could develop it or could take it later on. That could get you still moving forward on this if you did put it into a separate parcel. So that would be one option too. It's no guarantee, okay, that the town will take it and do anything with it, but at least you would have an ability to move forward with the other part.
And it would be a landlocked parcel.
Well, maybe, yeah, I guess it would. Not unless you connected that to, oh no.
It would be easier.
You would have to connect it with at least a part of the parcel would have to come back to the cul-de-sac.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the planning board is the appropriate venue to kind of hash this stuff out and not PRC.
Agreed.
Right.
As I was going through before, kind of what triggered this whole thing about the lot size requirement waiver, one other thing that I saw in the conservation subdivision ordinance is the buffer areas that would be required, and so just want to make sure that that's shown on the plans.
Okay.
I mean, we can keep it.
Yeah, Bill?
Well, if they want to keep the property, they can keep the property. I mean, we're not no use for it. I mean, we're not going to expand it, or we're not going to do that. But if they want us to continue to walk through along the side between the two, between the apartments there and us, and run around to the back of our property until the future, if they want to do anything with that strip, they can also have that. I don't know, because eventually someday there'll probably be something built back there. But I don't know. But we have no use of. We have no thoughts in our mind. We don't want to cut woods or anything down if we're going to live there. It's not the purpose of it.
Yeah. So I'll send out the checklist, like we're doing. I just think that there was, so these proposed plans don't show any proposed grading or anything like that. Our preliminary subdivision checklist says, what are the proposed contours, the delineation of land to be disturbed in any manner, and that stuff doesn't show up on these plans. So I guess, yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, we'll get you those plans. They're
Okay.
right in front of me here now anyway, so yes.
Okay. Then that answers that. Okay. I'll send out all my notes after the meeting. Is there anything else, guys?
Seeker? Seeker Lance?
It'll probably be, I'd have to look at the acreage again, but it might be just a type 1 action, or it might, I guess I'd have to look at all the details.
Type 1, okay.
So we have a short form. Do you want a long form?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I would recommend filling out a long form. It may be an unlisted action, but we're going to coordinate it anyway. So I would suggest that they fill out a long form, but it may just be an unlisted action coordinator review. There's thresholds I have to look at to determine whether or not it's a type 1 or not, and I don't recall those thresholds.
Does that mean you're going to have to solicit, or you're going to have to
30 days, yeah.
30-day
Well,
recommendation?
the town board's an involved agency, planning board, and then any other, the city of Canandaigua would have to be notified. They're within 500 feet. So yeah, a coordinated review is likely going to occur.
Is that enough time before the meeting, right? Can we get that done before the preliminary subdivision hearing?
I wouldn't imagine by the 27th.
Right.
So, Lance, just the timeline here would be, we'd have the meeting on the 27th. At that point, we would sort of make the decision to coordinate then, 30 days
Right.
from kind of point,
Yep.
and then
You
we
would
would hear
do-
it again.
Yeah,
December
you would
8th.
do 30 days from the 27th. Or the 28th. I mean, I can get everything out the very next day.
All right. This is not a type 2 action.
Not a type 2.
Okay.
Type 2 would be nothing.
Right.
It's at least an unlisted action, but being that we're coming in for some portion of a rezoning, and there's thresholds of acreage that's associated with that. I have to look at that, and then I have to look at if there's any of the thresholds, an archaeological site, which I don't think there is, open space area, which I don't think that there is, ag land, which I'm not sure that this is in an M district or not. I don't think it is. So those are the thresholds that would take an unlisted action and make it a type 1 action. I don't know that this is a type 1, but I'm thinking the planning board, with being the town board being involved, we likely coordinate it out. And in doing that, I would recommend a full EIF be provided to do that. That's my recommendation.
How is the town board involved, just out of curiosity?
That's a good point. No, we're not doing, I was thinking we're doing the other process. We're doing conservation subdivision.
Right.
So the conservation subdivision falls in the hands of the planning board, not the town board. You're correct with that.
So what, are we back to an unlisted? Or,
Well,
It's 3.5 acres of disturbance, right?
it's not disturbance. It's when you resub, conservation subdivision is a rezoning, correct?
No, it's just a cluster
Yeah.
development.
I mean, it's not rezoning in the sense that the town board takes action on zoning a parcel or something else, but it does say something to the effect of that it'll be noted on the zoning map that it was, done as a conservation subdivision, so whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I think that's the part that gets, I mean, Brennan, what's the total acreage of the site?
Just over 7.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Just over 7 acres.
Okay, so it's under the 20. So I think you're correct. I think it's just an unlisted action. So that
Okay.
only requires the short EAF to be provided. But,
Okay.
so I think you've met that criteria in that sense. It's up to the planning board if they wanted to make it,
Well, yeah, tell us now, right? So we know, that's all.
My thought, Brendan, is I would do a full EAF regardless if we coordinate it out or not.
Okay.
The more environmental information that we can get, I think just helps. Eliminates those questions as they come up.
Yeah, just don't want to get to the planning board and say, oh, they gave us a full EAF, it's coordinated review, and it's kind of.
No, you're correct. I agree with you on that sense.
Information, I just don't want to.
Because you give us a full EAF doesn't require coordinated review. Coordinated review requires if we have multiple agencies involved and the board feels it's needed. Now, history of Canandaigua, the way the planning board has always functioned, they have a strenuous list of coordination that they do as part of the
Yeah,
review
I know.
process. So we could, with this possibility that we could constitute that as our coordination as well.
Right.
So my thought is give us the full EAF just so that we have all the information in front of us. And then it likely won't be required to be an additional 30-day review above that for the fact that the town board's not an involved agency. Does that make sense? Does everybody follow that?
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
So we're shooting for a 10/27 meeting for this application?
Yep.
Okay.
So is this then an unlisted action?
Well, I would call it an unlisted action, John, for right now. I'll do strenuous reviews once I get the information. If anything changes, I'll let you guys know, but it sounds to me like it's an unlisted action all the way.
Okay, thanks.
Uh-oh.
Okay, and Brennan, get the analysis into Eric, and Eric and staff can review the analysis and see where there's issues with this plan, and let the planning board know so that we know what we're looking at come the meeting on the 27th.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anything else? I didn't want to take control of the meeting. I was just trying to bring it to some conclusion here.
No, I'm all set. If everybody else is, we'll move on.
I want to conclude because I need another cup of coffee.
I'd like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the meeting for us.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for joining us.
Good luck,
Thank
Bill.
you, sir.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye.
We'll see you.
Right there.
All right. So, which ones have we done? We done that one. Done that one. We've done that one. All right. We'll pick up at the top because nobody else is joining us. So we'll do 20061, which is for Jamie Farr. This is a zoning-only application, so generally you guys might not be as interested, but they are on Daisy Way. They would like to put in a pool.
Is Daisy Way Brookside? I can't
Yes.
remember. Okay, thank you.
The one where you've seen
Sorry.
a lot of activity recently.
Yes.
It does perk our interest, Eric, when you say Daisy Way. Go ahead.
32.
It's not lot 50. Good.
So they're right here. They want to put in a pool. They need a setback variance for that. So they've made application to the zoning board. They've prepared a very complete application so far. There needs to be some changes to the plan, but they have the ZBA app in, the new structure, supporting photos. They've already circulated a petition amongst the neighbors. But so John, as far as what should be shown in the request from the PRC, the sketch plan one should probably not be shown on another person's survey. Also, the pool should show the patio area surrounding it, patio or sidewalk, the concrete surrounding the pool, as that has to be included in the setback requirements as well. I had talked to Jamie Farr and let him know that we need that, but we should have it on the PRC minutes as well. I believe that the setback is 6 feet, 3.8 feet, so it's a couple more feet on this rear line. They should be able to meet the setback requirements for the side, and this is the rear setback variance that they're requesting. There was a previous variance granted for these guys, 3217 last year, I believe, for a pool setback variance. So it's not something that they've never done before.
Eric, did you say the sketch plan should not be shown on another person's survey?
Yeah, they can't draw on somebody else's material survey.
Okay.
This backs up to the park, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, my only really concern on this one is there's a drainage swale. If you look at 3215 up north of that,
Yep.
you can kind of see behind the property. There's a drainage swale that goes along there. They'd have to maintain the pattern of the drainage swale without dumping it into the pond or the park or the town property and stuff.
Yep. Because we had an issue down below with the swale being
Yeah.
blocked. And the house that was built to the wrong elevation, that was what, 3215?
Yeah.
The one we're going to talk about next week? Okay. So that's two houses, at least two. Okay.
Just this is the approved grading plan. I believe it's this one.
Yeah, it looks like there's kind of a swale back there, but the hill kind of bumps up a little bit. As long as they're not interrupting any path or something, the approved drainage plan looks like there's just pretty much swales in between each house to drain the property, sheet flow it to the town property, which is fine. It's not concentrating it anywhere. We're just sometimes concerned when people plop things in the middle of things.
Yes, they should try to show that on their sketch plan, or at least the location of the swale, just to prove that any impervious surface that they're adding isn't going to impact that swale.
Okay. John, will you add that to the minutes? Just show the swale on the sketch plan.
Yeah, got it.
Some of those lots have pipes running back to a catch basin. I guess none of these do. That's down below it. Okay. All right.
So that's it for that one. All right.
And this is a variance of type 2?
Yes, variance is tied to action.
And Eric, this needs a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay,
So we'll move on to Scott Harder's application for Bobbery. This is down on County Road 16 near Dual Road.
Popular area.
So there's your property just across from the Minks.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Down that far. Okay. Yikes.
This is a very small addition. So you can see the existing house footprint right here, essentially. And then they have this kind of interior entryway right there, I believe. They are proposing to construct a larger entryway right there. So 16 by 12 addition. They need site plan approval. Obviously, they're disturbing over 500 square feet. There is some leaching chambers, I guess, right here. So it's going to have to go to Tyler Rowley. I'm surprised that it functions, I guess, in such a small space, but apparently it does.
You hope it functions.
Yeah. It does seem, though, that they will need a variance for lot coverage. They did not make application for it, but just reviewing this.
Aha.
It looks
Good
like they're
catch.
going 48.1% to 48.3% lot coverage, which is a total of 13 square feet.
oh, no.
Yeah, they're pretty much right there. But I don't know, I mean, short of removing some of the patio area, not sure how they, eliminate that need for the variance.
Yeah.
So they will likely need a variance for this application, barring any changes. And they provided some architectural details. Guys got any questions?
Oh, I see.
I mean, the shoreline guidelines, I don't know what they have out there currently. Looks like there might be a pipe on that side where the addition's going, cross pipe or something.
There's an electric utility, it looks like. What do you see?
Look, I was looking up on the street there. It looks like an inlet box. It's a black square. Right there.
Oh,
they're
no,
just-
those are,
They're corners? Okay, Harpy corners, right. Well, they look like a head wall. Okay, never mind. But I know they have drainage issues down there with all the
Yeah.
water coming off the other side, so
Mhm.
just want to make sure they're not creating more of a problem for themselves. Okay.
Is that 12 by 16? It's not really on a steep slope, I hope, is it? Or is it? I think that's
it's all
pretty.
patio right now.
It's what?
It's all patio right now.
Oh, that is patio. Okay.
Eric, so does this go to the zoning board or you need to determine that?
As it's presented right now, yes, it would. If they change it in between now and Friday to eliminate the need for a variance, they wouldn't, obviously.
Okay, I'll put it on for now and then you'll see what happens.
Okay, yep. Well, as you talked about, the only thing I saw, or the major thing I saw that they need to provide is a shoreline statement. The checklist, I'll send it out, of course, but just some of the big things. They say that the building coverage is 15 feet and 25 for lot coverage. That's incorrect. It's actually 25 and 40. So they do fall under the building coverage requirement. For existing vegetation and land cover, it does appear that there's a tree like right up here. If you look at the Encore image, unless it's been removed since 2018. So that should probably be shown on the plans.
Mm-hmm. Help their case.
And delineation of land to be disturbed. They show silt fence, but I don't really see where the limits of disturbance are. So. Those are kind of the big things, but again, I'll send out the checklist after the meeting.
Lance, a seeker on this?
This would be a type 2, single family residential.
Okay. Eric, you do the referrals?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I got to go into Tyler Rowley for the septic stuff. Chris Jensen, the ECB, is that correct, Joyce? You want to see this?
Yeah, sure.
MRB Group, and Kevin Mulvaney.
Okay, thanks.
I should say, if the zoning board referral is required or for variance is required, it'll have to go to the Ontario County Planning Board.
And John, I would also note that our drainage, the town's drainage requirement, 20,000 square feet requires a 2-year storm event to be detained. Our standard note, just make sure it references it for this one.
Okay,
Thank you.
And if it goes to the ZBA, it'll be a November meeting.
No,
For
it could be on the 27th still.
okay, so you can still get them in for the October ZBA.
Yeah. If he provides everything we need by Friday. Sure.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, why don't we just leave it to 27th either way?
Okay. All right. Anything else on this one, guys?
Nope.
Okay. Design works for Greg Banfield. This is another variance-only application. So let's show you guys the property.
It's in God's country.
Yeah.
It's my neighbor.
So there's the property right there. They have an existing detached garage. This is in their front yard, and essentially they're proposing to connect it and also add on to it. But because it moves closer to the property line, to be 17 feet. I believe 25 feet is required there for what would now be a principal building, not accessory anymore. It would be required to have that 25-foot setback, so they need a variance for the setback.
And they're putting an addition on the north end?
Should be on the south end. Oh, there's two additions, I guess.
Yeah.
North end of,
Right, the proposed house is. Right. Okay, elevations, yeah, if you have them real quick.
this.
Okay.
I think that this is the full plan set for what they're proposing, so. Probably can't read that, but
Yeah. What's the zoning district here?
R120?
Okay.
No, I think it's R2. R2.
Is it AR2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No,
Two
it's
acre.
not. It's
Isn't it?
R120.
2 acre minimum. Is it?
No,
Maybe
it's
not.
You've been living in an R120.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. I knew it was 2 acre. We had 2 acre lots. Bowling alley.
They have pretty much everything they need as far as application go. They've got us the setbacks, the proposal, the ZBA app, and it only needs a variance. So it is a type 2, and it will need a public hearing.
Okay, thanks.
I guess I should also say, there's only one referral, and that's to Chris Jensen. Chris says he's good with it. Okay. On to the next one. Venezia for Dagger.
Oh, yeah. That time of the year, huh?
Oh, boy.
So this is for sketch plan review.
Which version is this?
We got to start charging for sketch
10,
plans.
12, 14, what?
Probably the 5th or 6th one.
At least. Yeah. John's got the history of it.
Wow.
Previously, I saw something like 30 lots going through there, through road.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Warners have lost appetite for a larger development, and so Rocco just wants to get these lots approved and sell them to Gerber to build. I mean, it does. So he is proposing, or what this would do anyways, is to annex a large portion of this lot to Anthony's property, which I think that he could probably do by right. And the remaining portion of this would be a conservation subdivision. There should be a stormwater area in here, I would think, but he doesn't show it yet. But a large conservation parcel, including the buffer areas. It's kind of like these weird lot arrangements.
Yeah.
Divide the parcels and whatnot. And then, large setbacks for the homes. But being a sketch plan, it's not final form.
So Eric, just the red lines are representing the lots or orange lines, whatever you call it. And then the green areas or the dot areas are what he's considering to be conservation area.
Yep.
And it does show the conservation area as being on its own parcel, which would be a requirement. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there,
Okay.
are they foreseeing an HOA on this?
Yeah, I would imagine so, but I'm not sure how it would be structured at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
Just-
I mean, that conserved area is kind of wacky as far as like,
Yeah.
I mean, the intent of the conservation subdivision is try to make it one parcel kind of contiguous and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
this is kind of pushing the intent of it and taking it, and
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No, I guess
I don't.
I don't know why they can't just push those, make that usable land up front and then just give us more of the rear of the properties. I
That's
don't,
what I'm saying. Give the entire back, add another 150 feet to the corner of that one lot, and then just get rid of all those frontages that are conserved, because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
no, I
true.
agree. Eric, one question for you, something that we'll have to document if this thing were to move forward, is I'm assuming with the annexed land being tied to what would be Fox Ridge then, right? That the same limitations that currently exist in Fox Ridge, which are they can't exceed a certain number of lots. It would have to be known that Anthony could never subdivide this parcel and create lots out of it without going through a town board review. Am I correct with that thought process?
I'm not really sure. I mean, it certainly wasn't included in the original Fox Ridge approval, and it's not within
Right.
the zoning district that Fox Ridge has become, the R120.
So on a side note, there has been some. I did get a call. I spoke to someone. They're talking the Van Isgam property that's on Middle Cheshire Road.
Yeah.
They might be thinking about doing something with that in the future. So I don't know what the long term is. It's just that the conservation area on this. How am I supposed to tell someone they can't mow an additional 3 feet to the side of their house and they can't mow their front yard because that's part of the conservation subdivision? And how do we maintain that and keep it? It just doesn't make sense.
No, I agree. I agree. The
Yeah.
conservation area doesn't make sense. I guess if they're anticipating carving that big lot off, which I'm fine with, and it becomes part of Fox Ridge, which I'm fine with, I just want to make sure that we know what that process looks like, because 3 years from now, Anthony proposes a subdivision on that lot. At least my initial gut reaction is that he wouldn't be able to do that. And so I want to be upfront with him that, hey, if you're going to carve this off and put it to another area with the intention of future developing it, I don't know initially that he will be able to, at least without going through town board review and all that stuff.
Well, it might even be part of the Van Isgam property in the future. I have no idea their intent. I did speak to Rocco earlier this week, and he was talking about the Van Isgam property was for sale, and they were talking about
Gotcha.
connecting that to that. And so
Okay.
they have plans within plans within plans, the usual.
I know.
But I just have totally against this project the way the conservation subdivision's set up.
Yep, I'm with
Can
you.
can you even subdivide it off because it's not connected to a road?
He would subdivide it off, connect it to his property
Yeah.
as far as that other area from Fox Ridge, and then that would be totally not even within this project. He could do that with a lot line combination right now if he really wanted to. It's
Okay.
just the conservation subdivision. Just I'm just confused by it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I agree.
Seems like every one of the conservation subdivision procedures that come into us, applications just seem to be all over the place.
Well, we are meeting on Wednesday to
Yeah.
and hopefully talk about revising the conservation subdivision ordinance.
Amen.
Anyway, so this is just a sketch plan. It seems like it's generally complete as far as sketch plans are concerned. Chuck, though, I know you generally want to see a conservation analysis even at this portion. Is that correct?
Yeah, because how do we know how many lots we're dealing with if we don't do the analysis? How many lots he's permitted to put in there?
Okay.
And I am not an advocate of shared driveways, but I know we have provisions for them in the codes, but here we go with, I guess 6 lots, at least 6 lots on on 2 different private drives.
Okay, well then, John, if you would add a request for conservation analysis to.
Okay, got it.
And this will be on the 27th.
Okay. Eric, does this get any referrals or not?
To the ECB.
Okay,
Chris Jensen, ECB, the Ag Advisory Committee, the Van Essingen property is actually in an ag district, so we'll refer to them. Jim Fletcher, County Planning Board, the Cheshire Fire Department, and Kevin Mulvaney. Kevin probably won't give us comments. Venezia Group, Lake Breezeway. So at the last planning board meeting, you guys did the subdivision for this, and they're proposing to re-subdivide it. Not really.
Put it back together again. Merge it again. So they got houses.
Hold on, I think Rocco may have sent me the wrong plan or something.
Yeah, you're on the wrong side of the street there.
Yeah, he, I apologize, he sent me, the application is for the two lots on the other side of the street that were just subdivided. I guess he sent me the wrong one, so I'll have to send that to everybody. It's relatively simple as far as that goes. I mean, it's two single-family homes, these two right here. Shows grading, but apologize, I'll have to get that from. We do need the short environmental assessment form, which they did not provide. I'll need a referral to John Barry, Chris Jensen, Jim Fletcher, and the Cheshire Fire Department. Lance, or Chuck, do you want to refer this one to Lance? Obviously, you can't see the plans, but trust me, it's two single-family homes.
I guess my thought is Eric, I don't know that we need the environmental assessment forms. I mean, the reason I say that is the site plan component, the residential lots are all part of a larger project that was previously approved and deemed neg deck by the board when they did the overall for the project. So I don't know that we need to really have them submit it. I mean, if it's formality for your guys' sake, by all means, but if you think because we need to go through some kind of environmental review, we don't.
I wasn't sure after we made a secret determination on
The subdivision, right. We simply did that for formality reasons, just because we were creating a new lot where we previously did. So because we kept going back and forth with it, I thought it would be easier and simpler. But the site plan component, the number of lots here are all part of a larger project that was deemed neg deck by the boards when they did it. And I can document that in the findings. I don't think we need to open up seeker for this. I would recommend not. And even if we did, we'd call it a type 2 as an individual lot approval. They would be type 2 single family residential. But when we start doing multiple at the same time, it opens it up to become something different. And where we've already done it, I don't think we want to get into that.
that. Raises a question I was going to ask. They made the application as one application for the two single-family homes. It's not really a burden on me to break it up into two applications, one for each single-family home. Do you think that is appropriate?
I agree, knowing what has happened previously with lots in terms of grade changes on floor elevations. And if one lot turns out to be a problem, it would be This way it'd be separated.
Yeah, I like to keep them separate.
Okay. Then I'll break up the application and do a separate one. That's not really an issue, but
Just while we're talking Fox Street, a general question. I know there were some vacant lots down on, I guess, West Ridge Run that are now being developed. In fact, they're on a pretty good slope. Any reason, not that the planning board's looking for more work, but any reason why those lots were not run by us when the homes were for site plan approval? Yeah, there's one there. They just did that one at the one that's vacant on the Bend. And they put the other ones.
Site plan approval was all part of the original subdivision and plans and stuff like that, so it doesn't go back to planning board when it's an approved lot within an approved subdivision.
Yeah, Chuck, I think there was a couple lots, but those were where the conservation subdivision or conservation easement area were as part of the overall approval of 5A. I don't remember the section. I thought the board put some kind of a condition that those lots, due to the conservation easement area on the lots, would be required to come back to the board for approval, or the number of trees, or it had something to do with the tree lots.
Yeah. Well, and it also, I mean, the Lake Breeze subdivision was changed from the original
Gotcha.
because the subdivision was changed, it's not a part of an original approved subdivision, so therefore it required to come back for site plan approval. I understand. I answered my own question. Thank you. Sorry to prolong it. So, which meeting? We're not doing seeker.
I don't see why we couldn't do it at the 13th. Is really
Yeah, I agree.
And then
Referrals.
John, yeah, I just have it going to John Berry, Chris Jensen, Jim Fletcher, and the Cheshire Fire Department. At least right now. Again, if you want to send it to Lance, let us know.
Say that again, Eric.
Well, I don't have on my referral checklist right now a referral to you and MRB Group, but I want to make sure that Chuck's okay with that. Or
Yeah, you had asked me previously, and I was thinking about it. I don't have a problem with it. I think we can handle it.
all right, and then John. So right now this one is just noted as 20068, but it's kind of for two lots. We're gonna modify that, so there'll be 20068 will be for one lot, and then 20070, which will be for the second lot.
Okay,
So these are, well, there's no seeker because it's already been done, and it will just be a 100-foot referral. Set with that one. Hospitality Syracuse. This is for a sign. Taco Bell, they do not have an existing ground sign. They're allowed to have, once it gets approval, or if it gets approval from the planning board. So 20 foot tall, 39.87, I believe they're allowed 40 square feet. And 15-foot setback from the property lines. So it meets the zoning requirements, but it does need planning board approval. I have to check the property file to make sure that they have an existing special use permit. I believe they do. And so this would need site plan approval and I guess a modification of that special use permit to note that they're allowed a ground sign.
Erica, would they be all set for the public hearing? They don't need a public hearing?
I'm not sure. How have we done that in the past? Do you know? Modifications to special use permits need public hearings?
A special use permit needs a hearing, but I don't know about modification.
Yeah, I don't remember what we've done. I'm trying to think of the last time we had to modify one.
I think it's really only one property anyways, but, or two, I guess, that one and that one. But,
I think that you would do it just to be safe, unless,
yeah,
you know, that's my thought.
Okay.
Yep.
Plans to seeker's already been done?
Yeah, I guess if they've already, yeah. But
Well, would you
a
need-
sign is just a type 2 anyway, so we're good there either way.
John, we need the applicant to pick up the project identification sign. They also need to make payment, although they said they were going to mail it in, so I might even get that today. But as of right now, we need payment. Referrals have been going to the County Planning Board and the New York State DOT. Is there anybody else that you'd like to send it to, Chuck?
No.
Okay.
Eric, just make sure when you review the file on this, I know we went through it with the Raymore and Flanagan sign. I think this is what sort of was one of the reasons predicated separate signs for separate businesses in a shopping center. And I think there was an issue of each business having its own sign. So just check that. I remember it was we went through that
Well,
with the other sign.
It's on a separate lot, and so they are allowed to do that. At least I'll obviously review it, but my understanding is that if it was on the same lot, they couldn't all have a ground sign, and so it would be like a multi-use development, and they would only get a development identification sign, or at least that was the former rules. We did change that. But because this is on its own lot, it's essentially a single
Okay.
commercial parcel.
Didn't realize it was by itself, though I do remember that when they did the addition. Okay.
Yeah.
It needs the street address on the sign somewhere. Either on the vertical pole or somewhere in the sign. I don't think they
Yeah.
shared it.
You can add that to the minutes, John.
Yep, got it.
Anything else on this one?
I gotta beg off a sec.
Okay. There is, we're right at the end, except there was one application that we had looked at previously that had submitted revised materials to us. This is the application for Geneco. So they added a number of the comments that we required, but you know, we're still missing materials, and I think there's maybe still some items that are somewhat problematic. So there's the third lot that they're proposing here, which encompasses a good portion of what's a trail, potential road in the future.
Mm.
So John, I have the minutes from our previous meeting, looks like from back in August.
Yeah,
The different things required. I put some open circles next to that area, or the ones that still need to be done.
will you send a new check sheet?
Yeah, I can do that too if that works better.
Be easy, I'll just go by the new check sheet then.
Okay.
Bye, gentlemen.
Don't-
I'll see you next month.
Take care, Joyce.
See you,
Was
Joyce.
we had this going to the zoning board and the planning board. Is that still the same?
it kind of, so on the previous minutes, you know, it said to be determined. I think that's kind of how we should handle it.
Okay,
They're kind of doing this as a conservation subdivision, or it seems like that's what their proposal sort of was, but it might be easier for them to just apply for variances. So if they figure that out, there's still a bit left to be done, it seems like. And so I'll send that checklist out. They should,
I've got everything else, so just send a new checklist with the new open circles and I'll just change that part.
okay,
I'll add this to the minutes for today, CPN 20051, and then I'll just put in the new open circles.
okay.
Yeah, Eric, I don't know how they're gonna develop lot 9, looking at
I'm
this.
trying to get you, Chris, but I can't. I'm sorry.
What was that?
Hold on one sec. Chris is trying to comment here, but I need to figure out how to unmute him.
Sure, go for it.
Sorry, Chris is coming in to join us.
It's just that the property, it's a dead-end road with no turnaround or anything like that, so I wouldn't approve it as is. You'd have to do some sort of design for a hammerhead turnaround, something like that.
Yeah, I don't even think that they could fit it on there. And my understanding is that easement that they added in is not going to be allowed for them to put anything inside that easement area. So they won't be able to extend the road and put a hammerhead in that doesn't somehow impact that easement. Maybe I'm wrong by that. Maybe I'm not correct with my understanding of what that easement is, but I'm pretty sure that won't be able to be allowed to be done.
Yeah, I would think so too. I think that one of our comments was about the right-of-way extension and how they're going to do that.
Yeah, and then the sewers on the north part of those lots, 1 through 9, they don't show it on this plan, but that sewer, I'm going to assume, has to be extended to accommodate those 3 lots that they're proposing to be built. I don't know if it can be extended. I don't know. I think there's some questions to be had. I don't think it's major. I think they're asking for these 3 lots, and I don't know if they can even fit the 3 lots in.
Yeah, plus they'd have to have some sort of parcel or something for the road, the turnaround, the hammerhead, just everything.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to have to show how they're going to get access, and they're going to have to show the driveway locations, in theory, just so that we can accommodate where they are. I'll have to look up the easement language again just to reference whether or not the town, I thought that was a transmission easement too, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just a right of way.
I thought it was going to be a future road going through there.
I think right now it's partly a trail, yeah, and water and utility.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. If there's water and utilities in it now, I think you're right. I think it's specifically for future use, which there may be allowed to be disturbances and stuff in it then.
But it would have to be a paved turnaround, town road, to get back there, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. No, that's exactly. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know what they don't show it on this plan what their access way is going to be.
Lot 9 will probably have to be cut off, I would think.
I'm thinking so too.
At the very least.
Well, it's an easement to the town of Canandaigua for a future road, which is our right of way lines is the property line.
Yeah.
It doesn't say right of way on here, but that's what it would be. That's what I have to look at.
I mean, yeah, the easement does say permanent easement for hiking, biking trail, and right-of-way.
Yeah, so I think because we have to consider it to be a right of way, that property line can't be inside of that easement area. And maybe that's a legal question, but that's my understanding.
it does seem like it's written more for trails. But anyways, so the big questions relate to extension of the roadway, both legal access and physical roadway,
Yep.
how wastewater will be contained.
Oh, yeah, the expanded, you know, I thought there were some limitations the last time, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not sure.
I know they used to all be leach fields and then they all failed. And so then the sewer was extended to these properties to accommodate them. I'm assuming it was oversized to handle future development of that area, but I don't know that to be true.
Yep. Okay. Again, I'll send the checklist out. John, you've got a record of our
Yeah, I have everything on the checklist. That'd be great.
Okay. Then we'll let them know, and they will have to get stuff back to us by Friday.
Okay.
To me.
See what happens.
That's
Yeah,
it,
right.
then. That's all we got.
All right.
Anything else?
Eric, then you'll send the check sheets and the referral sheets on email this afternoon?
Yes.
Okay. I'll do the minutes tonight.
What was I going to say? I'll send the agenda today for the planning board meeting next week.
Okay.
Though there is one online. You're saying you're going to revise it based on today?
No, I was just nothing related to PRC. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that I'll send the agenda out for next week. I think that I did already put it online though.
Yeah, it does show one on there. Last revised 9/9.
Yeah. So, this should be right. I think there's only one change, which
Don't say that unless you mean it.
one change so far.
There you go.
The application on North Menteith, one for Fahey and the one we
Roberts?
talked about at the last meeting.
Yeah.
That was put on the agenda by my error. Actually, Lance, I think I told you that, and Chuck's not on. But essentially, I told him to submit a more formal request, and in my haste and disorganization, being in the office right now, I put it on the agenda in error. So Chuck asked that it be placed back on the agenda, and Jim Fahey, Bill Grove will join us to talk about it. And hopefully they can prepare a more, a better presentation than the one I gave. And I think they also provided some
Responses, right?
for septic, which kind of came up at the last meeting.
Right. They wanted the amendment to the conditions of approval, correct?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
So
And
Chuck,
they
you're
have
back.
reasons to help support it. Why? That weren't otherwise provided at the last board meeting.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Chuck,
Okay.
just so you're aware, the stuff with Jim Fahey and
Yes.
North Menteith
That was
Drive,
one of my questions.
that was put on the last meeting in my error, and I apologize for that. I had, in my conversations with Jim prior to that meeting, I had said, submit a formal request and, revise site plans and whatnot. And then in between my sending that email out and revising the agenda, I forgot, I guess, that I had made that request and I put it on. That's why Jim sent this email after the meeting, not knowing that there was a meeting, because it was my fault that it was put on the agenda.
Okay. Well, we'll just take care of it on the 22nd. Well, I don't mind going, doubling back and revisiting.
Yeah. Okay. Then that's the one modification, I guess, then to this agenda that's on the
22nd.
site right now. And what I'll send out later today is to have that under other board business again.
Right. what happened to the chalet? Did they withdraw their application?
Yeah, they withdrew.
Okay. I see it went away. After all the fun we had last meeting. Do you have have you talked to Doug about a Rocco meeting?
He just got back from vacation today.
Okay.
Should have
Let me
come
know. Although I don't know what Rocco's asking for other than what he presented at the PRC, or at the PRC, at the planning board. So
in. Yeah.
hope he's not trying to do an end run. Okay.
Yep. Then that's it. As long as you guys don't have anything else, and I'll let you get out of here.
Good.
Lance, bad Sunday. Bad Sunday for the Birds and the
Oh.
Cowboys. Oy.
It
Redskins-
was terrible. I agree.
Redskins and Giants could be in first place. Hey, but the Bills won. Hey, that's my new team.
There you go. There you
All
go.
right. Okay, guys. Guys and gals,
All right.
I guess. Thanks.
Thank you, fellas.
Yep. See you guys.
See you guys.